Senator Lyons.
Thank you, Madam Acting Deputy President. I want to revisit the absolute rubbish we heard from Senator Abetz yesterday during question time, when Labor put it to him that he had reduced cleaners' pay, that Minister Abetz was responsible for a slash in the take-home pay of cleaners who work in Commonwealth-owned building. Senator Abetz said, and I quote, "So let's get this clear. It had nothing to do with the removal of the guidelines," end quote. That statement from Senator Abetz is wrong. The Minister for Employment got it wrong. He got it very, very wrong. The loss of pay for cleaners at the Department of Immigration and Border Protection is directly related to the guidelines which the Minister himself cancelled as part of the ridiculous red tape reduction we've seen from this government. The contract for cleaning of this building came up for renewal. It was a building covered by the Commonwealth guidelines, the guidelines Senator Abetz cancelled. It was a building where the cleaners were receiving, through their union-negotiated enterprise agreement registered in the Fair Work Commission, the higher rate of pay stipulated in the Commonwealth guidelines that Minister Abetz cancelled. And it is now a workplace where the very same cleaners have had a slash, a cut in their take-home pay, and the responsibility for that cut, the cut in the take-home pay, lies fairly and squarely with the Abetz government and Senator Abetz as the Minister for Employment in particular. The facts are the successful contractor, and we didn't hear this from Senator Abetz yesterday, but the successful contractor gave the government a choice when it tendered for the contract at the Immigration and Border Protection Department. It put 3 rates of pay in its tender and asked the government to choose which rate would apply. The first rate that the contractor put in their contract was to maintain the cleaners on their current rate of pay, the rate as stipulated in the Clean Start guidelines, which Minister Abetz cancelled. That was option 1. The second rate of pay was an enterprise agreement rate higher than the award but less than the Commonwealth guidelines. And the third rate of pay, and I'm very pleased that Senator Abetz is here, he can hear the truth, the third rate of pay was the award rate, some 30% less than the hourly rates the Commonwealth cleaning guidelines, which Minister Abetz cancelled, had in them. The cleaners at that government-owned building were once again at the mercy of the government. And what did the government do? What did Minister Abetz do? It put its own interests before the take-home pay of cleaners. It chose, Senator Abetz chose, self-preservation and opted for the lower enterprise agreement rate, slashing the take-home pay of cleaners. And why did he do that? Why did the Abetz government do that? Because the Abetz government wasn't prepared, and Minister Abetz wasn't prepared to own up to the mistake he made in cancelling the guideline and slashing cleaners' pay. He could not find it in himself to be big enough to say, OK, we'll agree to the top rate. The contractor gave the government 3 options. It had the choice, the government and Minister Abetz had the choice to not slash the take-home rate of the cleaners, had the choice, but it chose instead to slash the rates of pay for these low-paid, part-time women cleaners. Again, the minister was wrong when he said wages should be set either by an enterprise agreement or the modern award, not by government interference, end quote. Whether cleaners in Commonwealth buildings received the guideline rates or not, or all rates were set by a union-negotiated agreement. Minister Abetz had the choice in this contract, and he chose, and he alone chose, to reduce the take-home rate of pay of cleaners. In the case of immigration and border protection, it is abundantly clear, it is absolutely clear, Minister Abetz is wholly and solely responsible for the reduced wages of cleaners that cut in their take-home pay by around $2 per hour. Both the Prime Minister and Senator Abetz misled the parliament when they claimed, in the Prime Minister's case, and I quote, "I want to make it absolutely crystal clear that no cleaner's pay is reduced," end quote. And Senator Abetz said, and I quote, "No cleaner will have their wage reduced as a result of the guidelines ceasing to apply," end quote. In the case of immigration and border protection, cleaners' wages have been reduced, and as a result of the guidelines ceasing to apply, and because Minister Abetz was not big enough to admit he was wrong, so he took it out on cleaners and slashed their pay. No ifs, no buts. It is crystal clear, to use the Prime Minister's language, the cleaners' pay cut rests with Senator Abetz and the Prime Minister. More broken promises. And unfortunately, the cuts in cleaners' pay in Commonwealth-owned buildings, in buildings that the Abbott government is responsible for, will not stop there. The spiralling down has begun. Every contractor who now competes for contracts in a Commonwealth-owned building will use a reduced rate of pay, and they may not be as thoughtful as the contractor was in the immigration building and offer the government the choice to continue the Clean Start guideline rate of pay. They will simply spiral down to the award. And why is that, Mr President? The simple facts are, and again it shows how out of touch the minister is and the Abbott government is that that is an industry that competes on the rates of labour. So where an advantage can be gained between paying an enterprise agreement rate or the award rate, which is 30% less, to win that contract, you can bet your bottom dollar here and now that we will see the award rate over time applying in every single Commonwealth building. And that cut of 30% in the take-home pay of cleaners will absolutely, categorically be on the hands of Minister Abetz. He has an option right now to restore those guidelines, to give the cleaners back their decent rate of pay, but instead he is trying to blame everyone else except himself. Well, I know, and those cleaners know, that it is the Prime Minister and Minister Abetz who are responsible for the cut in take-home pay.
Thank
Senator
you,
Abetz
Senator.
is nothing but a work choice warrior.